I was talking to myself, I would say. The challenge would be like, have I actually done enough? Where am I going with this?
Welcome to Voices for a Change, a podcast where we explore stories of individuals passionate about creating meaningful change. So today we have Aashriita Muniandy joining us. So Ash is a recent psychology student at the from the National University of Malaysia who is passionate about promoting mental health, community development and environmental well-being. She actively seeks opportunities to collaborate, raise awareness, and inspire collective action for a better future. Welcome, Ash.
Hi everyone. Nice to meet you guys. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. So, I think before we start, I think it is better for Ash to maybe introduce yourself a little bit so that people will be able to know you better.
All right. So my name is Aashriita. Hi everyone. As you mentioned just now, I'm a recent psychology graduate from the National University of Malaysia, and my path after being a psychology graduate has take a few things. I am working as a research assistant under UKM itself. While that is going on, I'm also like a part-time intern with Eco Garage, handling all the project management stuffs, and also a mentor this year for Researchers Malaysia RASMA Program Award. Yeah.
Okay, I think that's very interesting. So I've heard earlier that you mentioned you are with the partnership and communications coordinator for Eco Garage, right? As well as a mentor for Roots and Shoots Malaysia. So
This would be a little storytelling about myself since I was young. I've always wanted to do something big, something. Okay, as a young girl, I mean, as a little girl back then, it was something big. And that big, as I go through my schooling years and all, it became from big to something meaningful, something for the people. So that's when, it went from being a doctor, it went to being a psychology student. um, Everyone has a purpose, right? And my family has always instilled this statement that you're here for a purpose. Try to find what's your purpose. So I think while I'm on my journey trying to find my purpose, I feel like helping or like giving back to my community would be what inspired me to take on this journey.
wow, so I think that inspired me as well, as I'm actually also a psychology student at UKM, right? So may I know that actually throughout the years, especially when you are in UKM,
I think the common ground would be, helping people or giving back to the community, no matter if it's through psychology or environmental thing. So from what I have learned through my academic journey, I mean, all those let's just say all those theories and stuff,
yes,
right, that we learn. Those kind of things helps me to understand better about the community I'm working with, and like I did my internship in Indonesia and all. So all those kind of changes, adaptations I've been through, to be much more flexible in the environment I'm in, has influenced how I am also on the ground while carrying out projects, even if it's as a facilitator, it plays a huge role. So I think being around with the community, learning how to, engage and also connect with them would be one of the things how my academic journey has also influenced this pathway. Yeah.
yeah, so I personally think that that is a very inspiring story, I guess, because for me, I personally feel like not everyone can actually, balance between their studies and
Oh,
then
it's a
still being
struggle.
so
Yeah.
actively involved in so many programs, right? So, as from what I know, Ash have also been in UNESCO UKM as a project manager before, right? So, looking back to your time in UNESCO UKM,
Talking about UNESCO UCAM, that was my how to say my starting point, to really put in what I've learned, to really test out, test my waters, like how well have I learned and able to apply. And back then, working with my team, one of the most significant impact that I feel like that I brought was, you know, I'm a very curious person and I like to ask questions. And if I find any resources, I like to send it to my friends in the team. Like, guys, read this book. I found this thing. So this kind of things has helped the team to learn what is going on out there, what are the resources out there, and it has changed our perspective. Like rather than just seeing what does this program need, we try to integrate what we've learned out there into our program. So the way um you know we've been wanting to carry out the programs leisurely, it has changed significantly, I would say, during my time at Unesco Ukm. So I was given the opportunity to be the program director of Visionary Voices. So although as a project manager, I had the opportunity to, share my opinion, but I was much more passionate about running my own program. So that's how Visionary Voices come about under media department. And the goal of that program was to get the students to learn what it is actually about SDG. We simply say, SDG for quality education. We just put it on the poster, but what it is about. There's also sub rules for those SDGs and such. So this Visionary Voices was meant to educate or bring awareness on those sub components, and also they have a little workshopping on how to analyze a problem, come up with a solution, and they had their own presentation session, so they presented what would be the steps taken and such. So I feel in that within that 1 day workshop is not much, but the participants were able to learn what it is about, how they can measure. We had uh, facilitators from Eco Garage and also SDG Center to come and actually educate all of us on what it is about, how does it work. So one thing that couldn't do was measure the long term impact, although it was under the planning. But I feel like that day it has shed light on what it is actually supposed to mean and what it is about. So I feel like just kind of bringing in resources and like re-engaging the students with what SGG is would be one thing I find very impactful during my time with UNESCO UKM.
I personally think that that's very interesting. I didn't know this until just now. Right. So, talking about work. Okay, let's shift it to work a little bit.
Okay. Yes, like I mentioned earlier, UNESCO UKM was my starting point. All this while, I've been a facilitator, maybe part of the organizing committee, like Exco program, Exco media and stuff. So UNESCO UKM gave me that huge role, project manager. It's very big, and it's like you get to play as you fit in those roles. So how um that role has influenced my current uh my current work experience right now is by it's first to even establish that confidence, like I have done this before. I have like had my own trial and error round, so you can trust me on this, and I can learn along with you guys because I shared how my experience was like. It was a new thing, and how it was also new to my entire team. All of us were exploring my one role together. So that actually made it much more effective for me to grab onto certain project roles right now. And other than that, I have, like I mentioned, I've worked with other NGOs, other organizations, right? And they have seen how the program went on, and they felt like it was successful. They achieved their goals along with ours, and to partner, to even get in touch with them, it was much easier. So for right now, I am able to network with a wider scope. I have not really established my own projects right now, but I still feel I still feel like a beginner, and it has helped me to dive in deeper into the roles right now I am in with the background, with experience. So the project going on, like for example, Eco Garage, we are going to have Ocean Festival Malaysia soon,
Okay.
and I'm helping with preparing the sponsorship tag, partnership tag, and all the stuff. So I do have that background, and I am able to apply and also modify along with their required details. So this kind of things, it has helped me to gain the trust and also shows that I can be adaptable and I can do the work.
So it's more towards the soft skill side, right?
And it has
That-
soft skill
yes,
side.
up to.
Yes.
Right. So like you have mentioned earlier, UNESCO UKM was your starting point, and you've mentioned about trials and errors and all those, right?
All right. So first, let me highlight
Okay.
being back in Unesco UK means we are just students. So we
Yes.
have a limited set of capabilities and time to put in effort into carrying out what we want to carry out, so that you don't burn out yourself along the way. So if I was given the chance to go back, I would first properly establish the resources we have. And also, no matter what the program is, what the project is, the measurement for the post program is the part that I really want to emphasize on. Because, I mean, I'm not trying to say it's a bad thing, but we've always been doing a 1 day project thing. And there's no follow ups done. I mean, we are still trying to instill it, but who is going to be holding responsibility to it? So maybe establish a system where we can do a proper post program follow up with though not just simple surveys. For example, right, you have activities done where the students or participants are writing what they've learned. So collect what is written during pre-program and also post-program. That is much more evident to see how their content have changed, how much they have, applied after the post-program workshop. So that is the kind of tangible things that I would want to, reinforce or implement so we can better measure how far we've come and also have a system where we can follow up with our past, previous collaborators and also partners. I think that's one thing that's very important in groups like organizations like UNESCO UKM is how far we have networked and how far we have connected, and also to make sure the connections we make is taken care of for the betterment in the long run. Yeah.
I think that is a very, very good point. As yeah, after you've mentioned it, I've like, kind of like had a little flashback in my head, and I realized that yeah, a lot of programs we tend to, just do it and that's it. Right? There is no very specific follow up and all that, right? So yeah, that could be a very good suggestion for not just me, but for everyone else out there also. So talking about the general public, right?
Yeah.
I believe that there is a lot of students or just anyone in general that actually want to be engaged with the community, but they do not know how and they do not have any advice from, perhaps their friends or whoever, right?
Although I have experience in many different programs or like projects, um, I have once also started as a beginner, and I may not know how solid this advice would be, but I hope it helps since it's from my own
Yeah.
experience. When I first started in year one, okay, all these things started back in year one of my degree journey. I was scared. I was afraid of like, what am I getting myself into? But the curiosity of it just, pushed me to apply for whatever it is. So the first advice is no matter how doubtful it is, just jump for it. You never know, what it will give you in the long run, but just go for it. But before going for it, um, make I mean, make a list, do your own research. What it is that you want to do, what it is that you feel comfortable working with. For example, I am passionate about education and environmental concerns, so I started off with joining as a facilitator to educate primary school kids on communication skills. That's how I started for education. And for environment, I started as a volunteer under Roots and Shoots Malaysia. And those kind of things, you have to do your own research. What it is that you're curious about. Make a list, do your own research so that you know that what you are putting yourself into is worth it. That's the first thing. Second thing, once you've already understood what is your interest in, you know, apply for it, or reach out to the organizations you are interested in, and have a conversation, like in a quick email, like what it is that you do, what it is that I can bring to the team. Those kind of little conversations actually leave a long lasting impression, like, oh, she emailed just to ask what it is that we do and wanted to learn more, and that shows how interested or how curious, that learning kind of thing. Yeah. That. And last but not least, after doing the research and asking, inquiring about it and applying for it, while you are in that beginning stage of that journey, right, you might still feel doubtful, like, oh, why am I doing this? This might just feel like a normal club program. But talk to your team members. Ask, how does it feel in the long run? Once you're in, you have the rough idea of what it is. Engage more. The thing that I feel like the thing that I feel like lack in trying to sustain that interest would be not being curious even after joining it. You still have to keep on asking what it is about. Like, although you are just maybe just as a community member that's helping in delegating in the task and such, you can always ask, what are the other departments doing? Like, how are we all collectively working? Those kind of things, no one would, say otherwise. No one would, refrain from answering. It's a reflection question. So keep being curious, keep tracking your progress, see how much you have learned and how much it has, impacted yourself. And when you've ended that first commitment to a project, think again what you have learned. That would, spark the interest, or that would maintain that interest to keep on going, like where else you want to dive deeper into. Yeah, I think that would be how I started, and I hope it helps for others as well.
Okay, that is most probably one of like the most inclusive uh flow of the entire thing, right, from start to end. So I believe that throughout your time in trying to start, right,
Yeah.
there will most probably be some challenges that you face.
Since I started this while I was still studying, and the struggle comes in terms of time management, of course. And also, other than the time management part, is how I was talking to myself, I would say. The challenge would be like, have I actually done enough? Where am I going with this? As a psychology student, I'm supposed to focus on mental health and, like, all those, that side of the journey. But I've also ventured into education, and I've also ventured into environmental concerns. And many people think, I'm overdoing it. So first, my challenge is to be firm with my own self. Like, I'm doing this, but what am I doing it for? And also to make sure it does not clash with one another. Like, my psychology is my career. That's what I want to do and, continue pursuing. But my passion is, like, how I want to take my career and also influence my passion. Those kind of things. That would be my first challenge, to think, whether am I doing too much? Am I doing enough? Is this my right path? So those kind of things, sit down with yourself, or sit down with someone has experienced it, and have a conversation with them, like how to go about it. Second challenge that I felt when I was starting this would be, you're putting in your time, right? A lot of time, and majority of that time it's labeled as volunteer, facilitator, and those kind of roles. And you, as a student, you're trying to sustain yourself. So many times people come asking, like, how can you give your time and energy for free?
Yes.
I wouldn't label it as for free, because it's a two-way thing. So I feel like whoever's starting will also feel this way. Like, what are they getting in return? You should always try to learn things. You are doing something, but it's not going to waste. You're also building yourself. And at times you shouldn't be harsh on yourself, like, oh, everyone else is actually maybe, for example, like I'm just starting to be a volunteer and my friend would be a co-founder of something else. So, those kind of things, don't compare. I stopped comparing and realign myself with what I'm putting my time and energy in. You might get carried away with the excitement, like once you go into this project, you want to do that project. So put yourself on hold and really think through what it is you want to do. That is why I say do your research, see what really aligns with you, and be selective of what you join in. One of my mistake or my challenge was in my first year, I went all out and I took up like 5 organizations, which was a really bad decision. But yeah, over the years, I took the initiative to sit down with myself and then brought it from 5 to 3, 3 to 2, and then the 2 right now is what I'm sticking with till today.
So I think that is very encouraging for anyone out there who is actually trying to, give back to the community and to also be a volunteer. So now let's shift it to another topic. Right. So as we know, we are currently in the digital era, right?
Yes.
So where social media is like life to us, right? It's like we cannot live without Instagram, WhatsApp, and all that, right?
That's how adults perceive us.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna share what I feel like it is. Okay, I'm no pro in this, but for a beginner, how I first started, it was a little overwhelming to read out all this big information, big chunks of like informations on like environment. Environment is a huge thing. There's maybe part education in it, policies in it. It's too much of things going on, and having social media and people uploading their reels and podcasts, it just simplifies those kind of chunks of information. That's what I like. I like to stalk those Instagram pages and I'll go through their content, be like, what are they doing? I like to read their point form and be like, okay, now I understand it much better. With all the illustration, not all the time black and white words, it helps to deliver the message effectively and also easy to digest for the audience. This is the platform to connect with others out there, and also it might not be a direct conversation, but an indirect conversation establishing trust and also saying like, hey, we're doing this. We welcome beginners. We welcome people who wants to learn about it into our team, and this is what we do. And it just feels good to know the vibes that these platforms have. So you can feel the vibe.
Yes. Yes, it's different.
So what I'm trying to say is how it plays a role in this journey is how it builds a connection. I mean, social media is to build a connection, a friendship in the first place. So in terms of social impact and so community engagement, this is one way to put it to good use, to connect it on a really much more friendlier manner.
Okay. So I think I have to note one point in which Ash mentioned about the how it connects with people, right?
Yeah.
So let's move it back to UNESCO UKM again.
This is one thing that I have been also trying to achieve when I was during my time in UNESCO UKM. But let's just say during my time, it was still an exploration and also Baruna established phase.
Okay.
So, and from what I've learned in that phase is that as a student with your limited capacity, try to build meaningful connections. If you want to reach out, connection is all about it.
Yes.
And to do it on a much more low cost, like not really time consuming, is connect with the existing communities. I know not everyone aligns with it, but there is communities that are like-minded with UNESCO UKM. Find out who they are and um maybe start off with little programs, not projects, okay, little programs like sip and paint, or that kind of networking thing where you just come, that's not play. Right? You have like little games. Yeah. I don't know what you call that, but you just have a game like game night planned. You have snacks. You bring in those people, and that is already a simple networking event. It's not a thing that we do right now, but I hope we can establish it so that everyone, uh, including the non-UNESCO Ukm members, can join in and just have a quick conversation, a quick catch up of what is happening. Through that, we're building connections. Building a connection would be much more, I would say, easier, much more, meaningful. Yeah, those kind of things. It's all about building connections. Just know who are your community, who are your people, talk to them, and yeah, go for it.
All right. So I think we've talked a lot today from your personal journey to what you did in UNESCO UKM to your current life and so on. So I just want to say thank you so much for sharing your journey and insight with us today. And it has been very inspiring to hear about your journey from a student to now as a working adult, right? So, to our listeners, I do hope that Ashrita's story has inspired all of you to take even just a small step towards social impact, and also to remember that every action counts, no matter how small it is. So, yeah, I guess that wraps up our podcast for today. And join us next time for another episode for On Voices for a Change. So, yeah, I think that's all for today. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for the opportunity as well.